Anderson Square in Georgetown and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us on what is another terrific Tuesday's edition of Talk Today. Paula Collin outside, here I am smiling. All for the YouTube. Well, maybe not. Maybe there's a spring in my step, a smile on the face, all because of what is good. And there's going to be some open line as we invite you to call and share your thoughts with us at 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. What's good in your life? Well, maybe I'll tell you about mine. Maybe I won't. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. If you're streaming it live on YouTube, well, welcome aboard. If you're just doing like I do and listen to it, the traditional way on the radio, even better. But sometimes, we access the internet because, well, we're young, or at least we're young at heart. Hey, who's going to be the first caller today? Who's going to share the thoughts? We don't have any gift certificate compliments of our friends or reflections, but we might. We just might. I don't know. It's a Tuesday. Maybe I'm feeling a bit, how should we say, Mr. Carl? What should we say? A bit tempted? A bit mischievous was the word he said. Come on, say it loud and proud, man. Rule the raise. What do you say? Welcome aboard. Yeah, man. Listen. The 14th of April, we get to exercise our democratic right. Those freedoms that were championed by our forefathers to ensure that we can freely go to the polls and vote for the candidates of our choice who are going to legislate, formulate policy, who are going to ensure that we have this continued approach to good governance, civility, a strong, stable community, one that is economically, prosperous and socially harmonious. Well, what is it that's missing in that ingredient to make it better? Well, what is your thought? It's not too early to be pensive. It's never too late sometimes to be proactive, although some would say better late than never. Others say, well, better never than late. It's a matter of perspective and a matter of being positive. So share your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Either way, we want you to be a part of our discussion today. As the political candidates forums continue, hopefully you get a chance to listen, to engage. Maybe you think there were questions that should have been asked. Maybe there were questions that were asked that should have been answered differently. Or perhaps you would have. Perhaps there are questions that you thought, wait a minute, they were a little bit too easy. And maybe the moderating, the banter between the candidates, the actual accountability from the electorate isn't, in your eyes, sufficient. Maybe you think it's just a little bit too harsh. Maybe you're wondering, well, why is it that we do it this way? Why can't we do it that way? Well, which way would you like it done? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Sometimes you look at your calendar and you realize that, well, boy, it's only Tuesday. You thought you've already been, 2 or 3 days deep into the week as well. But I wanted to maybe engage you in two things. First, following the discussion yesterday with Ms. Katina Anglin, relative to, political education and the power of words, especially from the political perspective. The importance of voters being engaged and informed and ensuring that the level of accountability to be had by those elected and or appointed to positions of high office is one where we take seriously our responsibility to be engaged through being informed, through being, sort of the keepers, the guardians, as it were, not just of the culture, but of the historical legacy, but also of the future promise that lies ahead. Generations to come will look upon us and wonder, what did we do, why we didn't do certain things, and will they be find us wanting? Or will we have had the courage, the conviction, in some cases, the charisma and the charm in order to champion certain things? But at times, it's not to be deceitful nor deceptive, to somehow mislead, misinform, misguide, but it is to ensure that as a people we step, hand in hand in a manner to ensure that what is to come is as best as it is. But the question is, how many of us would be willingly give up and change the status quo if it would mean that our own position isn't improved, even though we know that out of our children and their children, literally, our children and their children would be. Our parents did it, but are we so courageous and so willing to make that sacrifice to show, the level of service and commitment? But maybe we would. Would we also be willing to do the same for the stranger? I'm reminded by a friend who told me, from the scripture. Let me just pull it up so I don't misquote it. I'm pretty sure I can find it. And the way he put it has a resonating sort of tone within the scriptures, but it talks about don't forget to show hospitality to strangers, for some who have done this have entertained angels without realizing it, right? And maybe something that we've heard often parents, probably our mothers and grandmothers in particular, share, show kindness to strangers because, maybe angels in their midst. So don't forget to show hospitality to strangers, for some who have done this have entertained angels without realizing it. He sent it from the New Living Translation of Hebrews 13, verse 2. But then, maybe because of the notion, once bitten, twice shy, fool me once, shame on me. Or you fool me twice, well, we'll get a second chance, right? How many of us would be unwilling to even do that because we've been bitten at times, taken advantage of so heavily that we're not even prepared to extend that common courtesy. We're not even prepared to sometimes explore, potential opportunities that may present themselves in a positive light, all because of our jaded, cynical approach. And maybe that's partly because of leadership, from the church to the, politician, from the business leader to the seemingly, civic-minded philanthropist who ulterior motives may not be obvious to us, because behind a smile and a big check, we probably easily fooled, some would say duped, by what we think is just, benevolence. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. But then again, what about the person who comes simply and humbly, willing to offer up everything they have? But all that is just, a willing pair of hands to pitch in and make the load that much lighter. Do we discard them, or do we really accept them as we would, with the big check in hand, toting, well-dressed, well-groomed, smiling, person that we mistakenly call a philanthropist, who may even be nothing more than a philanderer? Well, your thoughts. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. So we asked the question of 10 individuals deliberately this morning, some of whom probably were taken off guard. So to my good friend, when I called him, I said, it's unfortunate that this is not a scientific survey, and that who's asking the question and the purpose, but could you just give me your objective view? I selected the names from just randomly, from my own sort of contacts, and I asked, if there's one thing that you believe needs to be addressed in this country that isn't? What do you think? Well, the first person I called, couldn't wait for the question to be answered. As expected, she's very, very astute, and she rattled off a number of things from cost of living to education to housing to healthcare and to the like. And I went through it. A second person got something similar as well. And what was interesting, as I went back and tried to collate all the answers, I saw a common thread. And I'll share that with you in a second. I'll share with you what, it was like, for some of them as well, they realized what I was trying to do. Not to encourage our discussion and discourse today, but maybe for us to think hard and long about our choices. All right. When we come back from the break, I want to hear from you. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Are you aware of the performance of your pension plan? The Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan provides quarterly fund fact sheets for our members to stay informed with the plan's performance. For the year ended August 31st, various life cycle funds provided returns between 9.2% and 16.5%, and our all-in expense ratio is currently the lowest it's ever been, a record low at 0.72%. Visit chamberpension.ky to review our fund fact sheets. You can see the performance as far back as 10 years. Remember that pensions are a longer-term investment strategy. Focus on the long term rather than the short-term returns. The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan continues to perform for you.
April 14th, 2021 is Election Day in the Cayman Islands.
Running for political office is no easy feat. You need to be everywhere, all of the time.
Now is the time to get your important messages out to the voting public.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, has always been there. Whether you want to get your political commercials or infomercials on air, make in-house studio appearances, or have your district meetings broadcast live to the listening audience.
Set a time today to meet with one of our knowledgeable Radio Cayman sales account executives who have their fingers on the pulse of the community.
Call them today on 949-7799 or email rcsales@gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, we've been in the community for just about 45 years. That means something.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. And for all of you who engage us publicly, those who, because of their work commitments, their schedules and the like, some are just very, very reserved in their public commentary. And we respect all of that. But thank you for, one, allowing us to share some time with you. Two, for you being so gracious with you to listen to us. And three, for what we feel is, immensely respectful approach to encouraging all and sundry alike to share our views. Even when we disagree, we do so in a civilized, respectful manner. So, you want to share your thoughts with us? 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. So I was sharing, we picked 10 people earlier and randomly just gave them a call. Some of whom I hadn't spoken to in a while, all of whom we like, oh, you called me, what you want to know? What happened? And it wasn't scientific, but just quickly, what are you thinking? It's not a sort of popularity poll is not scientific. I just want to see what random people would think. Now, they're random in the sense that I just dial them, but they're all sort of known to me or somehow acquainted, connected in my contacts. So thank them for giving me a few minutes. Even the one individual who say, boy, you always should call at a bad time. I say, busy at work. He say, no, I'm going to take a shower. So he knows who he is. Next time, you know what? Maybe make some time. But that brings us to another point later we might remember to share with you. So the first person talked about, education, housing, healthcare, and the like. And all of these individuals chatted about the same thing. The common thread, and I couldn't necessarily put it in any sequence to rank it because, well, it wasn't an exercise as such, it was just the issues. But two things jumped out. Of course, cost of living and housing and healthcare and education, ranked. But it was my assessment. You collect the data, you look at it. Quality of life, and it hinged around protection of the environment, not just the mangroves, but our access to the wilderness spaces, to being able to go and watch the birds, as my friend says, the birds, and littering, the absolute presence of the, seemingly abundance of litter every single place. The most remote to the most congested. From the public beaches to the, most seemingly inaccessible, uninhabited spaces, we just seem to like to litter. And that's a reflection on all of us. All right? Now, during the break, very grateful for this quick call that came through. It shows that our people are not only heavily engaged, heavily informed, heavily passionate, desirous of wanting things to improve, and willing, to share of their time, their talent, and their treasure. So this caller said that when it comes to education, see what you think, see if you agree with it, see what you want to add, see what you might want to maybe not just compliment, but you may want to critique. The whole approach, in the caller's view, was perhaps we're not being holistic. We're not looking at it, in the manner we should. We see education as this thing that is sort of an institution instead of a thing that is approached to lifelong learning from the cradle to the grave, to looking at critical thinking, and as opposed to a period of time that spans 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years, whatever that time is. You go to school when you're a certain age and then you graduate. To those who are fortunate after sort of high school, maybe they do some other sort of training and we put labels on it, as opposed to what the caller reminds us, that we need to look very, very seriously at the idea of critical thinking skills, lifelong learning, and having our parents, engaged, involved, informed, educated, right? And don't interpret that word as a caller reminds us, examinations and certifications and all sorts of testing and, paper, as old people would say. But being able to have our parents position and engage in such a way that they can help our children, that can be a complement to our teachers, so that there is this, tripartite approach, teacher, parent, school, as opposed to what we seemingly would do, stream our children, cream of the crop, and position some. What if it's now being worse that selection is based on ethnicity, the color of your skin, how much money you have, maybe where you're from? What if that is, becoming a deliberate approach? What if it's just inadvertent? What if it is someone shared that this is a part of a new design, a deliberate design to disenfranchise many? Now, might sound sinister, might sound a bit far-fetched, but what if? So to the caller's point, are we prepared to stop looking at education as an institution? $300 million buildings, whether staff are sufficiently resourced with the money to motivate them, the resources to ensure that they can deliver the teaching and learning that we ask of them, that the school environment is safe. Well, what do you think? Now with that, one of the 10 callers that we spoke to earlier said, okay, well, you called me. I was hoping that I would get a chance to speak with you. I wasn't planning to call you until later on. And the caller at the end of the day, I felt sad, quite honestly, angry, furious, and disheartened. This caller relayed countless reports of fights within our schools. Now, for some of us, we hear about it because we're connected. Some of us go, really? Organized fights like that amongst boys and girls? Boys fighting girls, girls fighting boys? Fights for no reason? Fights where seemingly it's being videoed and shared? Fights seemingly where adults for a period of time are onlookers? Fights for no reason? Now, is that what perhaps part of education and learning is today? Not to insult, embarrass, or offend, or anyway inflame the situation. Not to our parents, to our teachers, or students. But is this a real occurrence? Does it happen as frequently as this particular caller shared with me today? Is this something that, whether it's at a sports events, whether it's an organized function by the school, or whether it's in the school day, that these things are, occurring so frequently and so daily? I mean, so sometimes, according to the caller, viciously within our schools, that we've ignored it. We fail to point fingers and hold people accountable, whether it's us as parents, us as students, us as teachers, us as politicians. And the caller said, seemingly, our response is that we send the police in. Well, maybe that's helped to law and order, but is it more of a fundamental problem? After I got off the phone with that caller, I had to really take a couple of minutes before I could call the others. And it has left me, well, not in the best of spirits. I'm glad the evening before was that much nicer. Let's go to the phones though. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How you doing?
Very, very thankful and blessed. How about yourself?
Same here. Rough, regular, poor, sober, and ugly.
Well, boy, you know what? If that's how you feel, maybe you change the mirror, man, because then the perspective might be better.
No. You see, you might look at ugly as one way, and I look at it a different way,
I don't see it. I tell you what a comedian once said, beauty is skin deep, but ugly is to the bone.
Yeah.
But I'm reminded of the scriptures, right?
It's an acronym for something.
Yeah.
Under God's loving yoke.
Yeah, I was going to say that the scripture talks about, man looks at the outside.
Exactly.
Right. So we're on the same page.
Yep.
Okay.
I just had a call after I heard you make a comment about the school and the fight.
Yes, sir.
So forth.
Yes, sir.
Do you realize that grown up now, let me put it that way, cannot touch a child anymore?
So that approach, just for those who don't maybe understand, because they hear touching, they might think you're referring to that practice of some cultures where, as the parent or the adult, you can discipline by some means, the strap or otherwise, right? So corporal punishment in schools. Okay, all right. But let me hear your thoughts.
The thing is, if you put even your finger on that child, they can say it's child abuse.
Right. Okay.
And you can be suspended from school for it. You can be expelled from your work. Anything can come out of it. You can be sued.
Okay.
So the grown up, and I use that because they don't have to be a teacher.
Right.
It can be security guard. It can be somebody else. If they put their hand on that child, the parent can come down on top of you. The child can actually come down on top of you and have you arrested.
Yeah. So without...
Dwayne, we have taken the discipline out of the school. We have taken it out of the home.
Okay.
That's why we are in the situation we are with the children being so abusive.
Right. So I know this is, for some, a very emotive issue. For some, it's a settled issue. And some are very dogmatic in their perspective, right? I only want to engage you based on what we can draw from your sentiment, but you're definitely in favor of a teacher, security guard, or some other grown-up disciplining your child, taking the strap, the ruler, the stick, whichever, and giving your child 1 or 2 or 3 licks, whatever it is, right? That's cool to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The coach as well?
Pardon?
Yeah, the coach, let's use the football coach, you know what I mean? Boy, what happened? You missed a free kick? Well, I slapped you one time, yeah. Or you cuss, let me slap you. You okay with that?
Dwayne, there are certain things that don't merit it.
No, I hear you.
I'm telling you.
Right.
But if you're going to come down to fighting, somebody has to get in there to part it.
Right. But respect.
And if you get in the middle of it, I can come back and say, hey, look, you abuse me. You're an adult. You abuse me.
Right. I hear what you're sharing, but as our friends say, but here comes the but. Let's look at it this way, right? Huh?
There's plenty of those in the place.
Let's look at it this way, right? The scripture talks about don't discipline in anger. You know?
Yes.
Chastise in private, praise in public. So
don't spoil the rod and spoil the child.
Right. Right.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Right. I've always interpreted that particular, phrase to mean that the rod was the shepherd's rod that you took and extend to keep it on the path, not a rod to beat somebody with, right? We hear respect begets respect. What about violence begets violence? I mean, the child, right? So if the child is in a fight in school, let's just stick to that scenario. The teacher comes up, grabs the two of them, carries them to the principal takes out the strap and whop, whop, whop. I mean, is that resolving anything?
Dwayne, I can give you another analysis now.
Okay.
I've been through school. You've been through school.
Yep.
We're all in the same era. I'm sure that you got your backside whipped a couple of times from the principal or from the teacher.
You sure what?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Oh, yes.
Why?
Dwayne, I know you. Okay?
What if I told you that I never got stopped in school? Ever?
Well, I would say,
ever.
Congrats. I would say congrats.
And it's not because of the fear of the teacher, right? But because I know where my parents stood with expectations of me, right?
Right.
But I also can tell you there were times in the schools where I saw teachers, and to even use that word to describe some of these monsters that we had in school, man, that is inflammatory, right? These are people that were hogs on 2 feet. They should never ever even be allowed. Let me chill. So, let me hear you.
I know there are some teachers there that you shouldn't even give a chalk line to it,
right?
Because they choke you with that rather than beat you.
Right, but we're talking 50 years ago when we were in school. Now it's a lot better and different, right? So I'm not talking about that, but you were talking about the days when we were there. But go ahead.
Right. I have seen children that got disciplined. And believe you me, those children have come out to be great men and women in society.
Discipline.
Because of discipline. Those statistics are great. When you check today's students coming out of school, they're coming out by the hundreds. And if you get 50 out of those hundreds that come up to be something in society, you got plenty. Why? Lack of discipline. But lack of control.
True. But does discipline extend to a person taking a rod or strap or some other means and hitting somebody? I mean, if I hit you, isn't it the instinct either to hit back or to cover? I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's some another instinct, to fight or flight. I mean, isn't that the normal instinct?
Dwayne, someone has to be in authority.
Okay.
Someone has to be in authority. The police come out there. Hold on. The police come out. Is it okay for the police to take out his baton then and hit them over the head or anywhere else to stop the fight?
In your mind, would it be?
Just because they have their figure of authority.
So you're saying that's not okay for the police to do that?
Well, if it's not okay for the teacher to part the fight or whip him or whatever else, why is it okay for the police to do it?
No, I hear you, but I just want to make sure I don't misunderstand you, and I don't want to ask you a leading question. So from your perspective, right, just for my edification, everybody else may have gotten it already, but just want to make sure I hear you clearly. In your example, there's a fight, there's a riot, there's something happening in the streets, the police come up with a baton. In your analysis with the teacher, with the police, it's okay for the police officer to take out the baton, the flashlight or whichever, pepper spray or whatever, and hit the people, in your view?
I asked you that question. You didn't answer that.
Oh, okay. Well, no. See, for me, when you have a person in a position of authority, from the politician, the police, the pastor, the teacher, and the parent, you need to recognize that with that level of authority and responsibility comes a level of accountability, right? And you need to be always above reproach in your conduct. Our approach oftentimes to policing in the past, go back to when we were in school, seems to be that we adopted the English mentality that those who, can't teach, you know what I mean? And we would put the worst of the worst in policing, as opposed to realizing that just like in healthcare, just like in education, just like in policing, these are to be your best and your brightest, because they're all things constantly, from the social worker to the psychologist to the mediator to the person who is going to somehow diffuse the situation, also investigate, analyze, and be able to properly assess what is transpiring constantly. An incredible demand and expectation of a person, right? But if you put guns or other, weapons of mass destruction, almost, of death in the hands of people whose psychological profile probably wouldn't even warrant giving them a paper clip, right? They will abuse it, right? So would it not be better then, not an idealistic society, but would it not be better if the people were self-policing? We allow lawyers and other professional associations to self-police, right? We just did it with a new, legal services bill to some extent. Why can't we expect the society, just like we would say, listen guys, here, we don't litter because that's a reflection on us. Godliness and cleanliness go hand in hand, right?
Correct.
Where was it not long ago where we could leave our cars and our homes unlocked and we didn't have to worry about people? Okay, but what if there were other places with larger populations? Not long ago, some friends had traveled, remember before the world was all put under house arrest, and they were traveling to a place that seemed to be a metropolitan area, and they were amazed at the level of safety and security within that space, right? And yet here in Cayman now we say, oh boy, progress, Bobo, more guns in the hands of everybody, more spending and abuse of funds and this and that and the next thing, but nobody's safer.
But there's no, because everything came down to the children not being disciplined. I'll give you an example.
Yes, sir. Yeah, man.
There was a friend of mine that disciplined his child in terms of making them do all the chores in the house instead of splitting it up to punish them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The child called social services.
Mm-hmm.
Social services came in and told the parent they could charge them for abuse. Took the child from the parent.
Right.
Within a week, the child had disappeared from social services. They went to the parent and asked the parent where the child is. He said, how do I know? You're supposed to have control of the child. So was now the parent wrong or social services wrong?
Mm-hmm.
The parent was trying their best not to beat the child, but give a discipline in another manner. And here it is, social services came in, but now social services want to hold the parent responsible for the child still.
Mm-hmm.
No, the child is on the age. You took it from my control. I should now charge you for losing my child,
right,
or making my child escape.
Yeah. So let me then ask, right? Is it then sorry, go ahead.
But then, Sterling, you, as the parent, then have no other alternative but to leave it as it is, because they're the ones now supposed to be in control.
Mm-hmm. But have we abdicated as parents and as a community? But as parents, have we given up the responsibility of being a parent? We can't be lazy parents. We got to be active, engaged parents, willing to serve and sacrifice the needs of the child. But equally, remind the child that, hey, you are the child, But we are by example, as parents, as adults, giving you the very best role model, right? Look at our sports associations, whether locally or internationally, whether it's in the Olympics in the US, and there are committees where the coaches are being sentenced to billion life sentences for abuse over decades. I mean, why is society so accepting of mediocrity and so accepting of the abusive behavior of people in position of authority?
They've been punished for it.
Punished? How many times we've turned a blind eye to that kind of nonsense, man? Let me say something.
How many times when they do go to court that they get charged?
Oh, please. A guy would go to jail for longer for a spliff of ganja than he would for raping?
Here.
So we ignore it. Let me ask a question. Let me ask a very inflammatory question. God forbid this happens. A parent, let's say a father, because, right, we're men.
Right.
A father discovers somebody has done something to one of his children, and he goes down and grabs that somebody and does all sorts of things that are not even enough to deal with what that person did. How do you think society will respond? You think the police now come out and arrest him? You think the society will rally behind him and say, oh, you know what, you should go and grab the rest of them and do the same thing to them? No, we can punish the victim over and over and over.
Correct. You know why? Because you went in there with an open mind.
Open mind?
Yeah, but the thing about it is, you touched part of me.
But you see what I'm saying is, right, we talk about the Bible eye for an eye, and we talk about the Old Testament. We talk about being loving and kind and turning the other cheek. We talk about all these things, right? But we fail to hold people in authority accountable. Right? Because we are afraid. We're afraid to say, oh, if I do this, I will be disinvited from that.
Same thing I got back to about the school teacher or the security guard or whatever.
Yeah.
You can't hold them accountable because they can't touch the child.
But it is
the child. The child come back and say, you abused me.
Yeah, but that's not
charged for it.
That's not for them to do. You as the parent are supposed. When I say you, not you specifically, right?
Yeah, no.
As the parent, it is the parent's responsibility to be responsible for the child. Your child, right, is accountable for the child's actions, but you as parent is responsible for that child, Bobo.
That's why I'm glad you brought that up, because I have said it over and often.
Yeah, man.
The child is under the parent.
Mm.
The parent is home, is what I'm getting at, is where discipline has to start.
All right. Listen, you're right about that, and then in that home, we have to be better as parents.
Correct.
Okay. I hear you, man. Listen. Thank you for your thoughts, all right?
No problem.
All right, bro. Enjoy the afternoon, huh?
You too.
All right, listen. We can talk about it when you come back. We can talk about something else. One thing for sure, God's willing, if we spare life and there's a breath, we can have a show until at least 2:30. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
This Wednesday night at 7 p.m., our New Progressives leader, Roy McTaggart, will be at Snug Harbour with me, Joey Hugh. Come and hear our plans for a stronger, safer future for you. Join us at 7 p.m. this Wednesday, March 24th, Snug Harbour Park. See you there.
Put your hands for the progressives. Serving you is the objective. We going all the way. Progressives.
This is a paid advertisement by the Progressives.
Things just got a bit hotter on Island. Come in today and order the new spicy Korean subs at Subway. They're sweet, spicy, and especially satisfying. Stop in and try the pulled pork with spicy Korean sauce, or the chicken with spicy Korean sauce. And you can message WhatsApp at 929-4658. Order online or use Let's Eat or the Bento app. The spicy Korean subs at Subway in 2 flavors, extra saucy and extra spicy. Subway, eat fresh.
Calling all gamers.
Practice play is over.
Get ready for 2 days of
non-stop competition, fun, and excitement.
NetGeeks Media is proud to present
the return of the Caribbean's #1 esports event and gaming convention,
Gamers Bay 5. Now celebrating our 5th anniversary, Gamers Bay is going down March 27th and 28th at the John Gray Gymnasium.
If you think you have what it takes, you can compete for over $10,000 in cash and prizes. Compete head-to-head in titles such as Fortnite, Super Smash Bros., Call of Duty Cold War, and FIFA 20.
See and try the latest game consoles and virtual reality headsets. Lots of free play for PC gamers, console gamers, and VR of all ages. special guest influencers will be in attendance. For more information and to register yourself or a team, visit gamersbaycayman.com.
Proudly sponsored by NetGeeks Media, Domino's, Pepsi, Enterprise Cayman, C3 Pure Fiber, Department of Tourism, Ministry of Education, Youth Services Unit, Kimpton Seafire, Radio Cayman, Simply Computers, and Suzuki.
And now, a paid political message from Georgetown West candidate, Dr. Kenrick Webster.
Hi, this is Dr. Kenrick Webster, your independent candidate representing the electoral district of Georgetown West. With just a few weeks to go, I aim to apply my passion, dedication, and track record serving the people of the Cayman Islands through my experiences in law enforcement, tourism, and youth development to support your Georgetown West to be an inclusive, safe, and thriving community for all. If you believe in togetherness and kick-starting positive change for our community, then your vote is safe with me. By voting and instilling your trust in me, I can assure you that I will listen to you and put your needs at the heart of action to ensure that your contribution is acknowledged, valued, and celebrated. With me, Dr. Kenrick Webster, as your MP, there's nothing that we can't accomplish together. Rest assured, your voice will be heard to bring about long-lasting change for Georgetown West and the wider Cayman community. I am Dr. Kenrick Webster, and I approve this message.
The proceeding was a paid political message by Georgetown West candidate, Dr. Kenrick Webster.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Government reported the results of 647 COVID-19 tests on Monday. 7 came back positive. So far, 27,611, 42.5% of the estimated population, have received at least one dose of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, while 13,544 have completed the 2-dose course. Turning to international news now, authorities in Colorado have identified the 10 victims killed in a mass shooting inside a grocery store on Monday, as well as the alleged gunman. The attack at a King Soopers in Boulder ended when police took the lone suspect into custody after exchanging fire. Police have not confirmed a motive. The suspect has been named as 21-year-old Ahmad Alisa and faces 10 counts of murder. Boulder Police Chief said the victims were between 20 and 65 years old at a news conference on Tuesday. German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Tuesday announced a hard 5-day lockdown over Easter as the country battles a sharp rise in new coronavirus infections. Almost all shops will be closed over the Easter period from April 1st to the 5th, and no more than 5 people over the age of 14 from 2 households can gather. The country's general lockdown measures will also be extended until April 18th, Merkel said. Germans have been living under various levels of restrictions since mid-December. And Australian authorities issued fresh flood warnings and evacuation orders on Tuesday as torrential rains again poured down on several parts of the country, sweeping away homes, roads, and livestock in the worst downpour in more than half a century. The National Weather Agency has posted severe weather warnings in every mainland state or territory but one, affecting about 10 million people in the country, of 25 million across an area of the size of Alaska. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. We invite you now to be a part of us to celebrate the diversity in our community, to show the love and to share in what is truly our wealth, and that is our health. Honored to be able to welcome for our listeners the opportunity to extend on behalf of the Cayman, Bayanihan Filipino community, wonderful health fair that's coming up this Saturday, and we'll tell you more about it. Well, joining the President, Dion. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome. Thanks for coming on board.
Thank you very much, really, for this wonderful moment, for giving us an opportunity again. Oh, my God. Thank you. It's not enough, actually.
No, well, you're most welcome. It is truly, for us, a general opportunity to share and extend it and to appreciate that the strength and safety lies within us working in unity. And I'm honored, man. I welcome. Maybe, before asking Ms. Carmelita to join us, you would be so gracious. Just give us an intro of everybody.
Yeah, my name is Dion Cesar, the president of the Cayman Bayanihan Filipino community. And with me this afternoon, of course, are very beautiful ladies here. Of course, Jing is our public relations officer, and Miss Carmelita, and of course our guest, our major sponsor, Royal Medical, in the person of Dr. Tamika Irons.
Yes. So Irons in the fire.
To be here.
Thank you. Well, thank you all very much. And I think, too, increasingly, probably now more than ever, the notion that we look after our health. And before Dr. Irons maybe join us, maybe Ms. Carmelita, from your perspective, together with Ms. Jing, help us to appreciate, what this health fair is about, why we're doing it. We know it this Saturday, but share with us so that the public understands the importance of it. And then perhaps, Dr. Irons, you can get us to appreciate that sometimes these things we should just incorporate into our lives without making it seem that it is this incredible, difficult venture. Health is wealth. So, Ms. Carmelita?
Okay. The reason why we're doing this, the health fair community, is to be aware with our health issues, whatever we are experiencing right now. There should always be a cure, especially now that people here in Cayman with this virus that we are encountering, we should have always a doctor with us. That's why the reason Dr. Iron is here, to help us discuss with this pandemic, to help us discuss with our issues with this menopause for women, and some family medicines and the common female problems. So Ms. Tanika will be talking about those topics.
Great. Well, perhaps, Dr. Tamika, from our perspective then, we look at health sometimes, and often we ignore what, in the words of Mr. Roy Borden, those niggling things. Sometimes they're more than niggling, but we still ignore it. The soreness in our leg that we think is something, or that, unfortunate discomfort in our stomach, or different other things. Sometimes there are even things that we don't even know, but we have never gone to get a proper checkup, as it were.
That is completely true, and it's a part of the Royal Medical and Wellness Center tenet that we actually be well persons, whether we're children, adults, whether they are children or adults or elderly persons. We uphold that you should be well, and that's exactly what we're talking about. So outside of COVID, which we actually will be speaking about in detail when you come out on Saturday, the 27th of March, this Saturday, save the date. Royal Medical and Wellness Center will be there to present on numerous topics. One will be family medicine, and that's a part of promoting health and wellness, as well as mentioning and dealing with all of the issues and medical problems that we have that surround us, not just COVID. We mean hypertension, chronic diseases such as diabetes, high cholesterol. Persons are often afflicted with gout or other types of arthritis. We at Royal Medical are fully equipped with not just myself as a family physician who sees children. So from birth into adolescence, I see babies. I'll be very specific because that's a part of my panel. Adolescents and young adults, as well as adults. We have our rheumatologist, we have a general internist, and we have 2 obstetrician and gynecologists. So on Saturday, while we're promoting the good health of women, we're not going to leave the men out at all, because we provide all of the support for males as well. But in terms of the well woman, both our gynecologists will be there presenting on issues that are associated with young women, middle-aged women, the older women, and the aesthetics that comes that in terms of them being underserved. And also we will be our internists at that time will be presenting on the COVID vaccine. I know this is a very controversial issue, and I'm just going to skim right across.
I wouldn't want to ask you. You go ahead.
Right, no, we're going to skim right across it because you have to come. You have got to be there on Saturday, this Saturday, the 27th, yes, at our health fair, where Royal Medical and Wellness Center will be supporting and joining hand in hand with our Filipino and Banyanan lovely persons to promote the whole concept of recognizing brave women and International Women's Day. For our men, we're not going to exclude you. We also provide you with full workup panels as well, SpectraCell, those are for micronutrients. We have the flu shot. We do complete blood panels for your blood count, your lipid profile to ensure you don't have diabetes, your thyroid is working well, and also urine analysis, as well as paternity testing, over one testing for ovarian cancer. That speaks a lot to us in our pan-global community that the Cayman Islands is. It is an extremely wonderful place to work and to represent Royal Medical in, because it's a melting pot. The small island is represented by over 100 countries in the world.
35 nationalities, we're told. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful place, man.
Yes. It is.
Awesome. I tell you, man.
So don't forget, this Saturday, ladies and gentlemen, we invite you out. Come out with us to our community health fair with our Filipino and Banyanan. Am I saying it correctly?
Bayanihan.
Bayanihan.
Mr. Ebanks had an issue with it as well. I don't feel
No,
too bad.
I just had an issue with the pronunciation, but I'm still trying to say Palalang Mangaw or something.
Yes, I had the same as well. Yes.
But what I do as a recipe, I say, welcome, man, come. Share my manga jam and coconut water. It's all good. But this is where the laughter and the love comes in, because we add in life to our years, but years to our life as well, and the quality of the thing. Possibly drink from that perspective, though. Too many times we don't see how easy it is to ignore, the obvious. But sometimes we don't appreciate that the simplest of things could be the most significant.
Yes.
So I thank you all for organizing this.
Yes. This is one of our main projects. After the group was being organized, we have to make sure that we're not only just catering with our fellow Filipinos, but we really need to give back to the island. This is where we get our livelihood. This is where we meet different kinds of people, and we have good employers too. So it's our way of giving back to the community, and that's why our group decided that we should have a health fair, bring awareness to the community, bring people to get to know that, health is wealth, and we have to protect and, make ourselves healthy all the time for us to work well, to live well. And we're very, very fortunate enough that Royal Medical didn't only support us during the extravaganza, the Filipino extravaganza, which we have last December.
It was beautiful.
Thank you so much. And they were able to make our plans easier for us to have this health fair. The time when Dr. Kirk Douglas told us that, we want to have a health fair, we said to ourselves, this is the one that we're praying for, that we really want to give back.
And God answers prayers, doesn't He?
Yes, yes. Just a brief with our community, with our group. It started during lockdown. And this is a group effort of different kinds. Majority of it are Filipinos, but it was a Caymanian who started the ball rolling. She gave, donations, and from that donations, it grew up to 500 packs from coins. This coins that we collected from everybody, and we have to think of ways, because it feeds a lot of people. It puts food on the table. And it's our chance also to give back, especially now that we're, back to more or less normal lives. So we said we really need to do something for the community as well. And we're so fortunate that Royal Medical is very supportive, and not only that, they put all the plans, and it's just that we arrange it as a project that it will benefit the community, and we want this one to be a yearly thing. Or if we can do it twice a year.
Twice a week sounds good, yeah.
Sorry, twice a year. So, we cannot only just cater, we will be talking about women's health or men's health. Maybe next time we will be talking about, the teenage issues or depressions, Alzheimer's, and, we want this health fair to be catering to all people in the island, all walks of life.
Well, as your flyer reminds us, an ounce of prevention is always better than a pound of cure. So when we come back, you tell us more about it. We know it's this Saturday. We know it's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We know it's at the West End. But maybe tell us about, how it's expected. Maybe it's about food. Maybe it's about medical presentations. Maybe it's about all these things. And then, Doctor, perhaps you can share with us the importance of not just food as your medicine. It's not the medicine becomes your food. But the importance of exercise and sleep, looking at stress, but laughter as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, all in the name of good wellness. Well, when we come back, we ask you to rejoin us. So please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
When the storm of 32 struck Cayman Brac, records show it did so with 200-mile-per-hour winds, with waves washing atop of the 140-foot bluff. Although shielded from the major winds at first, once the eye of the storm had passed and the winds turned, the island was hit from the north, where nearly all of the houses were situated. When the storm passed, all of the houses were destroyed, all provisions lost, and 108 losses of life accounted for in Cayman Brac alone, not to mention the trauma that the survivors had to endure, including post-traumatic stress, gastrointestinal cases, polluted water, and insufficient food. But out of chaos grew a sense of harmony as people forgot their differences and worked together to overcome the disaster. Although having been hit hard, Grand Cayman sent materials and manpower without pay, and the Sister Islanders selflessly cooperated to rebuild their islands.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Join me, Frank Cornwall, your candidate for Georgetown Central, along with political leader Roy McTaggart, Georgetown East, and current Premier Alden McLaughlin, Red Bay, to hear our plans for a stronger, safer future for you and your family. This Tuesday, March 23rd from 7:30 p.m. at the top of Tropical Gardens Road. Vote for a stronger, safer future.
This is a paid advertisement by the Progressives.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And we're honored that, through Talk Today and Radio Cayman in particular, we can have an opportunity to share and showcase our beautiful, wonderful community as we welcome the Cayman Bayanihan Filipino community. If you are raised at night, I won't, say that you missed a great thing, because then I would say you missed a great thing. But it was a great thing if you missed it, maybe next year. The dances, the parades, the presentations.
Yeah.
I watched, each one with bated expectation, and the presentation from you guys were were amazing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very much enjoyed. And the fact now that, like many of us, we want to give back to our communities, we want to strengthen our communities, show, love and appreciation. And this is a great gesture. Health is, without question, our true wealth. So this Saturday, wow, end of March already. Well, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the West End. What do we need to do, first off, as we continue our discussion? What do we need to do to come there? Is it free? Do we have to pay for it? Do I need to call, get a permission from Mr. Dewey? I mean, what?
No, this is a free for everyone, free admission for everyone, and they also have a chance to win 3 days, 3 nights stay at the West End.
Wow.
So we will going to read to you our program.
Yes, ma'am.
Probably this our
yes, we're going to start, of course, with the introduction of all the sponsors and the guests, and then we might have ribbon cuttings also, and then opening remarks from our medical doctors, and then we will start the seminars. The first seminar will be for the common female health problems, which will be presented by Dr. Rachel Shirley. She's an OB gynecologist. And then after that, there will be another seminar for aesthetic gynecology and menopause in women by Dr. Tanikia Grant Davis. She's also an OB gynecologist. And in the afternoon, do you want to discuss about it?
Okay, in the afternoon, we will go after lunch, of course, 1 p.m. We will have the presentation for Miss Tamika Irons, our very own doctor here. She will discuss about the medicines and the range of the things that entails. And after that, at 2 p.m., we will have the presentation of Miss Dr. Shade Stanton. He will be in charge with the pros and cons of getting the vaccine. That will be a good talk to hear. Pros and cons.
But vaccine. Let me just add that all throughout the whole day event, there will be an ongoing screening and testing. All those like the cholesterol, the eye checkup, the pap smear will be they will be giving coupons, and the test will be done at Royal Medical, and it's for free, and also the cholesterol checkup, the sugar, the blood, and
refreshments, of course.
Of course.
Yes. Of course. Courtesy of Royal Medical again.
Right. So the only thing I can say is, isn't it a beautiful thing to be part of a royal family?
Oh,
yes, indeed.
I see what you did there.
Where you get the royal treatment. So this is Dr. Irons representing for Royal Medical and Wellness Center at 36 West Bay Road, and we are proud to be a part of the free community health fair that is being put on by Bahamian and Cayman Filipino community. And we would just like to recognize that a part of any good royal family are all the cogs and wheels that keep the ship turning and moving and going. We would like to just highlight Mr. Kirk Donald, our director, Miss Eileen, our Communications and Services Manager, our Miss Angie, our Supervisor and Collections Officer, the persons in our lab, Miss Kentisha, our beautiful nurses, Nurse Diane and Nurse Katrina, who are very much a part of the Filipino community, as you know, and the other doctors who work with us, Dr. Chambers, our rheumatologist, our internist, and the 2 OBGYNs. As for myself, as a family physician, I really, really, really want to just emphasize and let especially the community at large understand our role in the community as family physicians. We see everyone. We're the ones that pick up things that may be wrong when you don't think they are and everything is going well. We screen constantly for chronic illnesses. In terms of children, yes, we know a pediatrician will take care of a child if they're ill and if they're to continue with, immunizations and so forth and more complicated pediatric issues. But as a family physician, I see babies of all ages. All of them are mine also, yes, my babies. And right up into young adulthood and adolescence. And I am sure that the Cayman, Bahamian, and Filipino community has a lot of babies, children, pediatrics, and young adults who would need our guidance.
Yes.
Again,
You're right
it's
on that.
great to be a part of the royal family, great to be sponsoring, and great to just reach out and give back, as you have said. And we're very happy to be involved. And don't worry, our royal family is wonderful.
Yes.
Let our royal family take care of your family.
Yeah. I would like to add some other sponsors. Of course, Royal Medical is our major sponsor. The other sponsors is Cayman Fertility Center, Cayman Insurance Center, Rehoboth Physiotherapy, Cayman Islands Cancer Society, and we were able to also include Adasi is for the Alzheimer's
Dementia
disease.
Association.
Yeah, we're trying to support them as well.
Yes.
So Mr. Kirk, was generous enough to provide them at least a table so that they can join us.
Bring awareness
Bring
also.
awareness of the Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And of course, for the eyes, there will be the Lions Center, the Lions Club of Grand Cayman. I think, did I pronounce it right? They'll be coming too with regards to the eye checkup. So a lot of people are also interested in that. So they'll be joining us as well.
All for free.
Yeah.
All for free.
Yes. All
And
for free.
As I listen,
That's
well,
the best
go ahead,
thing.
Ms. Cornelia. Yeah.
Yes, on Saturday, March 27th, early morning, go for your walking at the beach, Westin Beach, and then come drink coffee with us, 9 o'clock, and we'll see you all.
Dr. Arians, from the perspective of, looking after women, because many times if the women are healthy, if they are proactive in their own health care, they recognize that they do for the children, for their spouses, for their extended family members, but sometimes they ignore their own. So they take the lead. Maybe the example will be that much easier to set, and we too will then follow suit, translate into a healthier community.
I agree.
I thank you. See that?
Mothers are the light of the family,
Yes,
so
yeah.
we should all be very healthy and the rest of the family is healthy.
But I like that you sharing. I think sometimes we, given that the cultural shifts, women are working, taking the leadership in politics, in government, in business, but sometimes they ignore their own health and the changes that we undergo, in life, from the adolescent to, the young adult, but from the 40 to the 50 to the 60-year-old, and we think that's normal. It has to be this way, and the quality of life issues from the premenopausal to the other things.
Yes, and to be honest with you, I think it may have been God sent, but Mr. Donald specifically has only women.
Yes. No, but they're giving free
on
prostate.
the roll call. Yes, mainly women. But yes, I agree with you in terms of us being at the helm and taking notice. Where, especially, to be honest with you, males are less likely to present, and the wife will bring them. Yes. Doc, this is what happened. But also, I'd like to highlight that yes, we may sometimes put our needs in terms of health to the back burner. On Saturday, when you come, you will get the full extent from a pin to an anchor as it pertains to women's health. And it's very important. I do believe that regardless of your ethnicity or background, I think as women, we do far much more work and a lot more. Am I correct?
Of course.
Thank you. Yes. Yes. So we wanted to highlight women at this event and at our at our fair, our health fair. And again, proud to represent, we'll be speaking about family medicine issues. We'll be speaking about obstetrician and gynecology issues. And we will be talking about COVID as it pertains to all of us. Questions you may have and answers to come.
Imagine this is free.
Yeah.
That's why we're inviting everyone.
Yeah. And this is too, sometimes, conference or expos like this may be sort of limited in a sense. It may be presented for a particular audience, physicians and medical personnel. But here's a wider community in an informal setting where you can engage, interact, ask questions, and come away with a little bit more clarity, as it were. Health is wealth.
And it's genuinely what Royal Medical stands for. Yes, I'll say it again, just like you did. Can you imagine it's free?
Free.
Don't you want to be a part of the royal family?
Yes. And the fact that it's the information, like each doctors will be discussing these topics, especially women's health and the COVID. It will be discussed in a thorough way, like each might be talking like for half an hour to 45 minutes, and you can ask questions. These are, it's an opportunity. You don't get this every day for free unless you go to Google, but it's different when it's a one-on-one conversation.
No. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Dr. Google and Dr. Irons
is
different people. Dr. Google and Dr. Shirley, totally different people.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a privilege, and I hope everybody will really find time, and that's why we scheduled this on a Saturday, because most of us are not working on a Saturday. Find time to come. You can check the paper, or you can check us online. We have the time and the schedule, whatever topics that you want to understand, and ask the doctors questions. Come and visit us. We're there from 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Can I add? The ballroom that was rented was set up properly, that the speakers will be really doing their best. It's set up properly that they will not be distracted by the other tables that are arranged on the other side, so that the question and answers would be really, happening very well. And then the food is also separated so that it will be kept for... No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we set up properly. It was finalized not yesterday. Monday with Westin. So they are now... They're going to set that up on Friday. So I will be in charge of the parking.
There you go.
Yeah, so a lot of committees were involved here. A lot of volunteers. There will be parking attendants. There will be registration attendants. There will be people helping out with the tables. There will be people helping out with the seminars. There will be people in charge with the food that she was able to create.
Wow.
Well, we have to really organize, because we want to give everybody a royal treatment, right?
That's
They're on board.
Yes. Everybody deserves a royal treatment. So we really want this an experience, and since this is our first salvo, and we really want to do this right, and we want everybody to leave happy, informed, and they have additional knowledge of the things that, especially about health.
And then also not to worry at all if you're shy, or you may not have gotten to go as deep into a topic as you would like to know. Please visit us at 36 West Bay Road. You can always call us at 769-6230. That's Royal Medical and Wellness Center. You can book your appointment easily. We're available to you, and we work outside of hours. I, for one, am able to be contacted at 922-9545. Our medical director is our emergency contact. At any point in time, you can call Mr. Kirk Donald at 922-2119. Yes, that's a man with a plan. Yes, if you need us at all, we're available to you. So on Saturday, come out with our Filipino community. I'm so proud to be representing Royal Medical, and so proud to be a part of what it is you've put together. And afterwards, yes, let's continue. Yes, I agree. Let's do it more often.
Every 2 weeks.
We might have it twice a week.
And then everybody who needs to come after, yes, Monday to Sunday, you just come. We can help you.
Perfect. Yes, Carolina.
And now we would like to help we would like to say thank you to Medical Center and to 89.9 for this opportunity that you have given
it's
to
a
us.
pleasure. No, we're glad to do that, and this is where invest in our health. Through educational awareness, through actually being proactive in our testing, to employ strategies to improve our quality of life. You guys are taking the initiative. We can follow suit, and together we see a better, safer, healthier, much more satisfied community.
Yes.
So, President Dion, thank you very much, Ms. Carmelita. Always a pleasure, man.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you so much.
Thanks for your call.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You guys enjoyed, and have maybe not be twice a week, but maybe twice a year. But if we can help you, let us know.
We will come back.
For sure, we will come back.
We'll remind the listeners, but it is this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the West End. The Cayman Bayanihan Han Filipino community. Hey, listen. Let's love, laugh, and learn together.
Yes.
All right, let's pause and take a break. When we come back, let's mix it up some more as we invite you to be a part of the talk today.
See you all.
The committee to elect Mario Ebanks for West Bay West invites all constituents and the general public to a campaign rally on Thursday, March 25th at 7 p.m. at the Club Inferno parking lot on Hell Road. There will be guest speakers on important district and national topics. Light refreshments will be provided. Come one, come all.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your sister islands. The ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom. The land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your sister islands.
Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Now is your chance for big savings on all GE appliances at Bransource Home Gallery. Bransource needs to make room for more stock, so that means big savings for you. Save $600 on GE front load launch repairs and save $800 on double wall ovens and French door smart refrigerators. Save on dishwashers, ranges, microwaves, cooktops, wine coolers, and more. Now through Saturday the 27th at Bransource Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park. Don't miss this chance for big savings on all GE appliances. Hurry in today. Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Thanks to the stamp duty waiver for first-time homebuyers, my family's dream of owning a home is now a reality. I have peace of mind knowing there are 75 new police officers helping to keep our communities safe and secure. For more information on strong public finances, visit gov.ky/strongeconomy.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us as we invite you to be a part of what is now open line for the remainder of this show. And we can talk about any topic you want to. But before we do, again, a special thanks to our Filipino community, the Cayman Bayanihan Han Filipino community in particular. A free community health fair this Saturday. West End, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If I can share, as fathers and sons and brothers and uncles and grandfathers and, just the men in the community, let's encourage our wives, sisters, mothers, and the women in our lives. Maybe we go with them. Maybe it's something that on Saturdays they may normally do. Maybe we can just draw alongside and help a little bit more to give them a chance. The presentations, as the physicians, Dr. Tamika shared, but also are not specifically and only exclusively geared towards the women, but we see many offers. So maybe there may be something of particular interest to that lady in her life. But we could go along as a family as well, because there are all the other health checks and screenings that are available. Again, investing in our health is truly a measure of our wealth. Improving the quality of life improves our society. This Saturday at the West End, the Cayman Bayanihan Filipino community is having a community health fair. It's free, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Now it's open line. What is on your mind? And I appreciate the caller prior sharing the perspective. And I think it's incumbent. There's another word that perhaps we would use, but let's just use that one. Imperative that families and parents in particular are engaged and actively informed and involved in the lives of our children. And the discipline of which we speak is probably as a result of the example that we set as the adults in our society. The misbehavior that we engage in perhaps becomes, for our children the norm and the expectation because it's the example that they see. The inability or unwillingness or just sheer ineptness on the part of us as adults to lead, guide, direct, counsel, nurture, protect, provide for our children is a glaring failure on the part of all of us, an indictment on our society if we turn a blind eye to injustices. But then again, someone hear that and think, oh man, that's idealistic. Well, it isn't. How many of us have traveled when we could long ago to places where we thought were large metropolitan areas, but were amazed at how clean they were, how safe we felt. Some, can remember not long ago when it was whether Montreal or New York, where it was unsafe. We can see the proactive measures taken over, extended, concerted effort to improve the safety and security of those larger cities. Now, they may not be safe, but they're a lot safer, and they're making strides. But then there are other places that are really safe. And when we came and say, well, we're relatively safe, we were once crime-free, we're almost crime-free, it's not good enough. One life lost to murder or some other kind of misadventure is one life too many. When a family is on the beach and have to be concerned for their safety and security, that's not good enough. When you walk the beaches and maybe step on hypodermic needles, or you're up somewhere exploring the wilderness, whether it's a group or solo, you shouldn't have to be concerned. Now, we should take proactive measures and be sensible in our surroundings, both in how we use and impact it, but also as where we're going. No good captain goes to sea without filing a float plan. You don't venture off without telling friends and family where you're going, and you may be expected to return. Not because you're responsible, but because you're actually respectful. But by the same token, just because you want to take, a solo journey, shouldn't put your life in peril. And our children in our schools should be absolutely safe. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Well, take me to task if you just agree with what I've shared. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. And like Ms. Katina shared yesterday, that when we as voters, electors, she called us, go to the polls, are we doing so from an informed perspective? And when the politicians, make some of these promises, as we've said, do we look at them as just empty promises and vote anyway? Or are they actually offering up something of substance? Doesn't mean that they've been there forever, that they're not doing a good job. Doesn't mean that they've been there forever, that they deserve to be returned. Doesn't mean that a new face is, as I say, a new broom sweeps clean. But are we, as voters, being critical thinkers, constructively evaluating what is before us? And are we prepared to grab the politician by the shot collar and give him a good shake? Sometimes a good slap. Now, that can be figuratively. You can interpret it otherwise if you choose. But are we also willing to stand in the gap? We can't let people do things and complain about it if we're not willing ourselves to step up. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. I'm going to share with you a quick WhatsApp message that came through. And you decide to what extent, you want to weigh in on that. We also want to talk about housing, as some have shared. And 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us. And I appreciate sometimes, the incredible love and nurturing spirit that we have from whichever. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Share with us. Let me pull this WhatsApp and tell me, what you think about it. And this talks to the whole issue of speaking to our culture, our history, and our heritage. And I'll endeavor to read it, verbatim for you. All right? And as this email shares with us, it seems sometimes that we're not always appreciative of where we are. So this listener writes in and says, So it was mentioned earlier that, traditions of having the sea, the green turtle shells up on their walls in all the homes by the turtle center, turtle farm, whatever it's called these days, forbids, through law and legislation, practice and policy and otherwise, for Caymanians to even get the shells of the turtles that were butchered. Seemingly it says is, a practice and a preference to just discard and destroy them, send them to the dump. Why is that? You already had the meat. Why can't the shell be part of it? And why is it that when we have these spaces and places, why is it that we ourselves aren't more actively engaged in the employment? Now, some would question quickly statistically that there are more jobs than the Caymanians and that maybe there's an interest in more areas than some of the traditional ways. But even if so, is there sufficient pay and reward and remuneration in order to meet that expected standard of living? But what is your thought? It's been mentioned oftentimes relative to the turtles. We butcher them. Many of us enjoy the meat. Some of us find it to be offensive. Some of us can't cook it, and it's probably best that it is venture until we learn properly. But if the turtles have been, humanely sent to slaughter, like we do with the cows and the goats and all the other meat, even the fish, the shells are there. Should it not be allowed, as opposed to being discarded and sent to a landfill, that you can, like the practices of others, and have them on it? Now, a few would say, well, could we not even go back to the practice that we had once? Yes, international legislation relative to the trade in, endangered species may come into play. That's serious legislation. But is it really akin to protecting and preserving and hopefully continuing, the production and promotion of, the turtles in the seas? I think the turtle farm over the years have done a stellar job at populating the waters. Now, should international pressures destroy cultural practices if those cultural practices don't infringe on, the sustainability of a species? Weigh in and share your thoughts with us. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255.
At Subway, we know a meal isn't quite complete without a side, and that's why we're introducing waffle fries. Subway's waffle fries are oven-baked softness with extra crispy edge, giving a satisfying taste to be enjoyed as is or in any of Subway's dipping sauces. Order waffle fries as a side item for $2 or make it a meal deal with any sandwich or salad with a 20-ounce drink and waffle fries for an additional $3 or a 30-ounce or bottle drink and waffle fries for an additional $3.50. Subway, eat fresh.
Making a dent in traffic congestion is everyone's responsibility. This March 22nd to the 26th, join your community for Car Free Week, a countrywide initiative by the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure. Carpooling, cycling, public transport. Join a park and ride program. Or perhaps working from home. Your boss will understand. Visit energy.gov.ky for more information for park and ride options. Take the Car Free Pledge and enter into the raffle. Traffic may stand still, but the Car Free movement is moving ahead. Join your community. Take the pledge March 22nd to the 26th.
You on island? You can't call nobody, or what?
Boy, I in prison, I'm in quarantine. Took a little trip to Miami.
You hear that they're doing rundown this year? I can't wait to hear what they're going to come up with.
Buy my ticket when you get yours. I pay you back when I get out of prison. I mean quarantine. Don't miss Rundown, the hilarious comedy review, starting Thursday through Sunday, March 18th to 28th at the Hartwell Theater. Tickets on sale now. Visit artscayman.org for more information. Brought to you by the Cayman National Cultural Foundation. Sponsored by Logic and Island Heritage.
Good day, this is Dr. Croy McCoy from the Department of Environment, and this is an important announcement for all boat operators, divers, and snorkelers.
stony coral tissue loss disease is having a devastating impact on the Cayman Islands coral reef ecosystem. Pathogens on dive gear may survive for extended periods of time and can be transferred among reefs. If you're diving or snorkeling anywhere in the Cayman Islands and before traveling between Grand Cayman and the sister islands, please disinfect your boat bilges and dive gear in a 1% bleach solution for 10 minutes before diving or snorkeling in a new geographic location. For more information or to make any reports, please visit our website at www.doe.ky.
But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. It is Open Line here on Talk Today. 949-8037, 1-800-534-8255. Or you can WhatsApp 925-3261 as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. What's on your mind? Maybe it's not the same thing that others are thinking. Maybe it is. But sometimes if you don't share and say what is it that you're sensing, then maybe perhaps at the end of the day you realize that one day your voice has been taken from you and wow, then it's going to be kind of late, man. Well, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Either way, we want you to share with us as you so choose. It is Open Line as we look at a couple of the comments. Now, we want to share about housing, the whole issue of housing, and I saw a WhatsApp and I need to make sure that I saw it in the right spot and I read it from the right space, but when I do, I will. If not, I'll remind us of the importance of taking opportunity that is afforded to us so that one day we haven't taken for granted. You just heard the promo for Rundown, and yes, it's a nice way to look at society and laugh at what transpires. Sometimes it's presented in a way that you wonder, whether we've seen it the way it was written, whether we're hearing it the way it was portrayed, but do we always reflect on it to appreciate that we should look inward before we critique those from the outside? With that in mind, as we look at housing and the issue, I had an opportunity from one of our listeners to consider the challenges that housing and the inability for our community sometimes to provide adequate housing, affordable housing to its citizens. Some, may recall what transpired in San Francisco in the U.S. some time back, and perhaps even still reeling from it. Others may look to issues in Australia where housing prices have gone. Perhaps you may even be familiar with some of the provinces in Canada. Or you may be so consumed with what's transpiring here that you haven't had a chance to even look elsewhere. And wonder, are we facing something similar? Not just from competing dollars from others who are more affluent, but from the seemingly, inability of people to qualify for mortgages. We saw the Legislative Assembly, as it was termed once, consider the consequence that what we think is a mortgage is nothing more than a demand loan, even though it may be amortized over 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years even. But it's not a mortgage as many would define that or have that defined in other jurisdictions. It's like your car loan. It can be called in by the bank if the bank so chooses, certainly, if there are questions of late payments and default and the like. Not that mortgages shouldn't be the same. Many have made some very glaring allegations that there was a time not long ago where some of our people were facing foreclosure, so they couldn't afford their mortgage, maybe because of lack of employment. They were made redundant. Perhaps their salaries and hours were cut, and so they didn't have sufficient funds. Sometimes it was mismanagement and misfortune. But at the end of the day, it seemed that some alleged that the banks were, having a difficult time to foreclose, and some have said, well, they made it a little bit too easy. And even allegations of collusion between this one, that one, and the next, whereby people seemingly were, more easily dispossessed of their property, and others picked up a good deal. Well, all sorts of things can transpire when people perhaps are responding emotionally. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You know, you think of intellect and your peers, man. How are you?
I'm pretty good, man, and I hope you can say the same.
My friend, I endeavor always, you know.
Well, I've listened to the show, obviously, and I think that there has to be far more dialogue about. Because we can talk. I mean, obviously, foreclosures and mortgages and the way they're structured, and banks and insurance companies. There's a lot that could be done. We could tidy up a lot of the things that are allowed to institute themselves within our environment, become a part of the fabric. Sorry, and we can look at two aspects, because we talk about the cost of living, and bear in mind when we say cost of living affects the average person, right? And the average person meaning those individuals where their salaries are average, not above average and beyond, where the cost of living is just a matter of formality. At the end of the month, you pay your bills and you move on for those who can afford it. But for those who have an average salary and below, they dread the end of the month when the bills come in. Mortgages, light bill, water bill, food bill, gas bill, and all of the things that you have to pay by compulsory. But, some of the biggest issues is that some of the institutions that is the driving factors in the cost of living are being allowed to self-regulate, manifesting to what they are today, like health insurance, for instance. It's mandated, right?
Right.
Okay. So how can something be mandated by law but has no regulation in place? There is no regulation for insurance companies in this island.
But yet we would think so.
You would hope that a properly structured environment and economy would have those things in place. Like, that should go without saying. The government just can't implement a law, and one would have to imagine that law was lobbied for by those insurance companies, right? And two things we could do to make that better. First of all, we need to regulate the insurance companies in this country, simply because it's by law, and people should be able to be covered for what they're paying for, and as opposed to be told all of these technical terms like you're overinsured or underinsured, or you only cover it with this amount and you only cover it for that amount. You need a surgery that costs X amount, but your policy didn't cover it, so we can only all of these things people are falling subject to, and nobody's really regulating it. And I can tell you that from experience. I have an aunt, God bless her heart and soul, and may she rest in peace. And she paid into a certain insurance company. I won't call any names.
Right.
I would just simply say she paid into an insurance company all her life. She was a teacher for her entire life. Her name was Janet. And when she got sick, she needed a surgery that cost $180,000 doing. And when we went in to claim on that, you know what we got from that company? You know what we got from that insurance company for her 30 years of contribution?
Nothing.
She got $20,000.
Okay. So basically nothing.
So I would like to extend my thanks and gratitude to Maria Daly, who used to work over at the Glass House back then.
Hey, you remember her? Yeah.
She was the one that facilitated a government loan. So my aunt had to remortgage her house in order to cover her surgery, in which she paid insurance for all her life. So, again, these are the type of things that happen and Caymanians fall victim to. But nobody seems to care about it because it's not in droves. But now we're starting to see where it's affecting all of our average people. Now, that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of the insurance companies, we have too many insurance companies on this island, so the pie is being cut up in so many pieces. The cost of insurance has to be high, because then the consumer base has now become so split up that each company has to charge exorbitant rates in order for it to make sense economically. So we need to regulate that. We need to limit all these companies from coming in here selling insurance, and we need to have 3 or 4 strong insurers where they are regulated and people are getting what they pay for. That's number one, right? Number two, we talk about the cost of living. We already know what the driving factors are and some of the mean ones are. I mean, let's just take, for instance, the cost of fuel. And I'll always say this because these are the facts. We have no regulation for the fuel companies, right? Yet we expect them to be responsible corporate citizens by doing what's in the best interest of the people first and their company second, whereas we know that that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen so many blatant disregard for the consumers in this country in the fuel sector that it's almost to a point where it makes you sick. And we see oil prices go up in the Middle East on a Thursday, and by Thursday midnight, the prices at our pump gone up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know which oil tanker it is that is capable of leaving the Gulf of the Middle East, get into the Gulf of Mexico, pump the fuel out, put it into the Marathon, Florida distribution points, and then put it on a ship that then rotates the Caribbean and get it to us all in a matter of 6 hours. I mean, I just don't. We just know that is physically impossible. But yet somehow the institution that is supposed to be policing and regulating that industry does nothing at all when they raises the price. OFREG does nothing at all to mitigate them changing the price in such quick order. Now, one thing we must also understand, and this is where it gets really important, you know, for this country to have a proper, fair price point for energy, right, and the consumption of energy. Yes, we know that we need to start leaning towards alternatives. We understand that. But for right now, as it sits today, the things that are affecting Caymanian families is the current environment that we are dealing with, which is burning fossil fuel. So, two things. One,
if you want, we got a news. Would you want to continue after the news with the conversation? We can call you back if it's preferable. But
no. I'll hold on.
You hold on?
I think this is important.
No, we do as well. And thank you for that. Let's pause, take a break. We'll come back. We will rejoin the caller. You can call and be a part of the conversation. I mean, I even feel so amenable that we could even get a three-way conversation. I don't know. Let's leverage the technology. But let's see. Stay tuned.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have here on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Shanda Gallego from Radio Cayman's newsroom. The Cayman Islands joins the rest of the world in celebrating Meteorological Day. This year's World Meteorological Day is devoted to the theme, the ocean, our climate, and weather. It highlights how observations, research, and services are more critical than ever before for more than 70% of the Earth's surface, which is simultaneously increasingly vulnerable and perilous. Turning to international news now, the mass shooting at a supermarket in Boulder, Colorado on Monday took place less than a week after 8 people were killed in a series of attacks on spas in Atlanta. The two incidents are likely to spur discussion about gun control legislation in the United States, where firearm deaths are tragically common. They are also among at least 7 mass shootings in the past week across the United States, including 3 incidents on Saturday alone. Israelis are voting Tuesday in the country's 4th general election in under 2 years, with no guarantee that this poll will yield a more conclusive result than the previous 3. The final opinion polls over the weekend point to Benjamin Netanyahu's Likud party finishing comfortably on top, but also show potential key allies without the necessary public support to make forming a new government straightforward. Like the previous 3 contests, this one is seen primarily as a nationwide referendum on the country's longest-serving prime minister. And Prince Harry has officially arrived in California. The Duke of Sussex has joined Silicon Valley startup BetterUp as its chief impact officer, the company told CNN Business on Tuesday. A spokesperson for Harry also confirmed the prince's new role. BetterUp provides coaching and mental health services to clients. The company's website lists Harry as part of its leadership team, describing him as a humanitarian, military veteran, mental wellness advocate, and environmentalist. Those are your latest headlines here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Let's go back to the phones and join our good friend. Hey, thanks really for holding on.
Yeah, man, no problem. So let me pick up where I left off.
Yes, please.
Break. And I think that this information and this dialogue is very important to have because people need to understand the environment in which we live in.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly we need to understand what are the driving factors when it comes to the high cost of living. So, again, like I said, we have a situation where our energy cost is large in part our fuel factor. So therefore, and 100% of the fuel that we burn for energy is a direct pass-through cost to the consumer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that it's long past the time where government needs to intervene on terms of the purchasing of fuel. And I think that we have grounds in order to have that argument simply because the utility company is not responsible for purchasing the fuel, right?
Mm-hmm.
They pass that cost on to the consumer. So the consumer need to now demand a better price point based on global prices. We need to stop allowing things that are creating the hindrances from people being able to be sustainable in their bills by simply saying, oh, it's a process or it's complicated or it's not that easy. It is that easy. It's 100% that easy. Just as easy as it is for them to purchase it from who they're purchasing it from now, it is that easy for us as a government to ensure that the fuel is being purchased from a vendor in which selling it at the global low prices in which the world is enjoying except for us. Now, that's one thing. The second thing is that we need to stop them from paying on volume and start letting them pay duties based on price. So that way we know exactly what they're paying for it, and that way we'll understand why the cost is what it is, right? That's number two. And the third thing, is that we have to have a storage facility of our own. We need to have a fuel storage facility that can store up to 90 days of fuel, so that in the case of any natural disaster or any event where the supply chain is cut off, at least we have 90 days in order to devise a plan or to reconnect to a different distributor, whatever the case may be. We have to have that security, and we have to have that for food as well. Now, I'll go now to the political side of things when it comes to energy. Now, and here's where I think this gets interesting. So we hear all of these people on the platforms now talking about the cost of living being one of the primary issues, if not the most important issue. But yet you hear them talking about all of these so-called solutions that they have, and I'm speaking about the incumbents. I'm speaking about the incumbents. A lot of them have these ideas of solutions for a lot of the issues in which their constituency has highlighted to them. So I ask the question, especially for those who've been in politics for 20 years. If you can get on a podium today as an incumbent who's been in politics for over 15 years, 10 years, even 2 terms, if you're going to get on a podium and start telling me that you are aware of the issue and you know what you have a solution, then I beg to ask the question, why haven't you applied these solutions prior to this particular point? Because cost of living isn't something that just happened yesterday morning, okay? Cost of goods in this country isn't at the alarming high rate overnight. They've been that way for a very long time. Insurance has been an issue for a very long time. Pension providers, why we got all these pension providers? Tell me, we need to have one national pension run by either the government or or an authority of government, and we need to have our money put in proper investment vehicles so that pensioners can have real returns when they actually retire and depend on the pension in order to live.
But is it then? Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I say this, carefully, but instructively, right? And I was accused of all sorts of manner, even being called a socialist one time, which at that point in time I thought that was meant to be an insult, right? And then someone had said, oh, just because you get an opportunity to get higher education, this, that, and the next thing. We are not looking at the big picture as you were reminding us, right? So if we were just to take healthcare and pensions, however we term that, and make it more, as you shared, on a global scale where we all are part and parcel of something, right? We heard now that the government is shared, or the the pension scheme wasn't fit for purpose. But it wasn't that way from day one. 20 years later, it's probably not much better, right?
Right.
Why is it now that seemingly in election year, we have the answers to all the problems and we can solve them in 6 weeks?
Well, agreed. Now, I have a question for you.
Of course.
Now, we got over $2 billion in pensions worldwide. Correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. Collectively, there are over $2 billion in pensions collected, right? And that money is in all of these various investment vehicles offshore from our island.
Nothing here, right? Okay.
If there is one single dollar of our pension invested in Cayman, I would like for any of the pension providers who is the host of that pension to point me in the direction so I can look at that investment vehicle and prove whether or not it is in fact the case. Now, isn't it ironic that we jump through leaps and bounds in order to attract inward bound investment in our country from all walks of life and from all places in the world? We try to make Cayman as investment friendly as possible so that we can have inward bound investment to help subsidize our GDP for the services in which we provide, right? Okay. Now you tell me now. Stop me when I sound like I have come off of my med. So how is it then that we can justify taking the people's money, which is over $2 billion, and send that investment outbound? So you tell me, how in the world does that make sense? That's oxymoronic. So we have infrastructure in this country that sells shares, that is a publicly traded company, CUC. I'm not sure if Water Authority is.
Water company. Yeah, water company.
Water company.
Yeah.
You have all of these different vehicles here that is very profitable simply because they're allowed to regulate themselves. Why haven't any of our pension providers say, well, okay, let us make an offer to Fortis Canada and buy out CUC and put CUC in the ownership of the local Caymanian people? Because I can tell you one thing, there's no better customer than yourself.
You see, this is where I think that over the years, right, and if we go back to what it was, 66 or thereabouts, now was it the West Indies Power Company? In that case, they'll probably be challenged to find the records of it now. But from then till now, the seemingly lack of foresight of some of shared, the honest inability of our leadership to look as you shared. Bahamas has done it, other spaces have done it, where there's a joint partnership between the government, i.e. the people, and private sector buying the natural monopolies, the telephone, the water, and the like. Well,
that in itself should go without saying. We should be invested in our own environment as opposed to, and that's one thing. And then the next thing I would say, and of course, we have all of these bureaucrats who say, oh well, it's easy for you to say. Listen, the world never no problems, The world just have a bunch of people who refuse to apply the solution.
Let me just...
No,
go ahead.
I want to hear your thoughts too.
Yeah, please.
Say, the government has a sovereign debt, in which is in bonds that we borrowed. So you're telling me, and it's less than the $2 billion in which we have in pension. So why? So that interest that we're paying back to those bond houses that house our bonds and our sovereign debt. Why we don't buy out our own? Why our pensioners don't buy the debt and they pay them the percentage? Because I can assure you, if you took a forensic look at the books of the investment vehicles that they invest our pension money in now, I bet you the interest and the profits that are derived from those investment vehicles collectively are far less than the interest government paying back on the bonds for the loan in which they have for the country's debt. Right.
I mean, think of maybe two things, right? I'll go back to what you said a second, but first, when in the UK, you got a Labour, you got a Conservatives. Let's just go back a couple of decades. When the Labour is in power, they would nationalise. The joke was the Conservatives would say, oh, don't worry, just more that we get to sell off later on. Or if the Conservatives in power, the Labour would say, oh, just more to nationalise later on. But they would take private companies and they would nationalise them, put them under public ownership, and that was okay. But in Cuba, in Venezuela, and other places, when the government of the day do something similar, it's called, they would expropriate the private property, and it's a bad thing. This is a regime, a junta. We give all kind of interesting words that malign and label. But the same strategy, right? The government of the day taking over an industry that they think is important for the country's national security, its prosperity, and the like. Nationalizing the Western world, in the UK, for instance, but some horrible thing done under a dictatorship. Same action, two different words, two different connotations, right?
Right.
Now, we see in Germany, for instance, today, and we see it in other parts of the EU, where there's a concern about whether the Chinese firms can acquire certain technologies and invest in certain companies, so they've passed legislation to restrict ownership altogether, or the percentage ownership, out of national security interests, right?
Right.
Okay. Go back to your point earlier. Is it what, 100 million or 200 million, whatever the sum is that is sent out annually, according to the statistics from SEMA? The people who work here go into the money transfer places and send the money back to their families back home, right? But what about the wire transfers that go through, or just even the pension amounts that are invested overseas? Whether it's the 2 billion, whether it's the 1 billion, whether it's the 10 billion. Now, when you ask about it, the pension people will probably rightly tell us the legislation is that we can have that money invested here, but we have not created a vehicle for that money to be invested here. So we can float the economies of other countries, but we can't do that to invest in infrastructure. Mr. Bo Miller, may he rest in peace. Together with some others, we were part of what was, a quarter century or more ago, the Young Caymanian Businessmen's Association. And I remember a discussion where we talked about, could we not, given that we were at that stage, talking about development infrastructure, sewage, water, and the like, own that as a country, as individuals, right?
Exactly.
Oh, no, you can't do that. But we can sell it to somebody else, right?
Well, the Cayman Islands Investment Fund was spot on. It was actually a brilliant idea, and the problem with it is that, when Mr. Bo championed that cause, no one looked at the contents of what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So I mean, when I say no one, meaning those people that had the power to facilitate that movement, no one cared about that. All they cared about that it was Mr. Bo Miller.
Right.
All they worried about.
We shoot the messenger.
That was the extreme unfortunate side of that, where Caymanians choose to investigate other people's qualities as opposed to recognizing their own people's qualities,
right,
and set aside their emotional differences, whether it's political or personally,
right,
in order to extract the things that could make Cayman a very, very sustainable jurisdiction.
But you're right, man. And sorry to interject, but with that specific thing, right, I can tell you, being a part of a conversation where I broached the issue, we batted about, just as young business people, whatever you want to call, right, talking about ownership on that, and it's ignored. Now he flashed it out, almost a quarter century later, but still we didn't move forward. We go back to the water company and the visionary leadership to acquire that, and the sacrifice and service. But look at the returns down the road. When was it the fellow we call Bug or whatever was his name was then wanted to acquire it, right? We're okay with somebody else buying our national debt, but we're not okay with us owning the infrastructure.
Well, okay. Again, and you're absolutely right, and I agree with you. But on that vein, let's look at land purchases in our island. Right?
Okay.
Let's look at the unwavering ability for anyone with the almighty dollar to attain property in the Cayman Islands, right? Now, we obviously have a system that is set up that where unless we have these things, then we're not able to generate a certain GDP in order to maintain a certain way of life. I get that, and I understand that completely. So I'm just going to say this. So when the bureaucrats and the deflectors and the self-serving members of government decide to try to say something different, here's what leasehold land brings to a country, right? And this is why leasehold was designed so that it did not serve the government of the day or the people entirely of the day. What it was designed to do was to secure a future for future generations. And people don't realize that the purpose of leasehold land is so that the government could take crown land, leasehold it to an entity who is going to develop and take that once uninhabitable land, turn it into a property in which could be occupied, put investment and infrastructure on it. Then after 99 years, which is not a very long time in human years. I mean, yeah, for you and I, no one living today will be living 100 years from now, depending on their health. But I say that to say this, is that the purpose of leasehold was to ensure that the country does not create an unbalance when it comes to the property in which the country owns from or fall victim to a powerful investor or investors that purchases up all of the property, which then in turn drives up the cost of living, which the people who live here indigenously or from here indigenously are now unable to purchase this property. So the idea is to ensure that the government of the day put in place, if they're going to be any large tracts of land for major development in some of the magnitudes that we've seen, that it must remain leasehold. So at the very least, 100 years from now, the government of the day and the people of the day can say, hey, hold up a minute. I think we want to retain that asset after all these years.
Yeah,
now that the asset is valued. So you've essentially secured a future for a generation 100 years down the road.
Right.
So we need to be very, very cautious and mindful of how we move forward, just because we need to generate GDP in order to take care of the everyday things that we have to do. We got to look far.
Definitely, man. Listen, I always appreciate I could talk to you. I'll leave you with two things. Just one comment with respect to the leasehold as we head into the break. Have you ever questioned, and Helen, about accountable when leasehold property was sold and converted freehold? And when we had, as government, had property that was freehold, but we sold it off to the private, whether it was last year or 100 years ago, right? And more importantly, governments around the world are claiming, success in terms of the management of this, this pandemic thing. But in the Cayman context, when we've done all the same things, employed all the same strategies, has there been any or sufficient credit, if there has, to the civility of the people who responded?
Sterling, I will say this, and I'll be very, very, very clear on this. I don't understand how a government or any government can justify accepting $14 million for over 100 acres of prime, already developed land from the previous leaseholder, the Matalons. How could government justify accepting $14 million for over 100 acres of leasehold land to turn it freehold? So now, if the government was to choose to purchase that land back with no stipulation or agreement prior to, if that was the case, or if they wanted to sell it to a private owner, I assure you that would be worth over $150 million to $200 million. Now, again, no one seems to want to have that conversation simply because they feel as if that deal was done in the best interest of the Cayman Islands. But I can assure you, we need to start looking at the fundamental things that's going to affect the next 50 to 100 year generation. Our environment needs to be preserved on every level. We have to start taking a strong look at our structure. We need to make changes that are not going to be popular with those who have been allowed to enjoy the non-structure or non-regulation for 40 years. Anyway, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, listen, man, thank you for that, always. All right, let's pause and take a short break. We'll pick up the calls when we return. But thank you for engaging us. Stay tuned.
This Wednesday night at 7 p.m., our new Progressives leader, Roy McTaggart, will be at Snug Harbor with me, Joey Hugh. Come and hear our plans for a stronger, safer future for you. Join us at 7 p.m. this Wednesday, March 24th, Snug Harbor Park. See you there.
Put your hands for the Progressives. Serving you is the objective. We going all the way. Progressives.
This is a paid advertisement by the Progressives.
Now you'll never have to choose between two desserts at Subway. The new caramel brownie cookie is 2 treats in 1. Imagine sweet, gooey caramel with decadent chocolate chunks baked in brownie-flavored dough and topped with a light drizzle of caramel icing. And you have the new caramel brownie cookie, available at Subway. Complete your Subway sandwich, pizza, or salad with the delicious caramel brownie cookie or any other cookie flavor and dessert. Available at all Subway locations. Subway, eat fresh.
We are telling you ahead of time, giving you the heads up to get ready. The black tie affair with a circus twist. Step right up. The annual gala hosted by Rotary Central for the Alex Panton Foundation. Saturday, May 29th, Marriott Beach Hotel Ballroom. Step right up. Support the Alex Panton Foundation, dedicated to serving and preserving young people through vulnerable times, mental health intervention, treatment, guidance, preserving life. The ambience of a circus affair. Tickets are limited, tickets are precious. Get your tickets from Rotary Central members. Go online to Rotary Central and the Alex Panton Foundation Facebook pages. Rotary Central and the Alex Panton Foundation. Rotary opens opportunity.
I'm looking for a new pizza joint with that perfect crust. My car needs a bit of a tune-up, and my pregnant wife needs something from the pharmacy. So I turned to the printed yellow directory, and in an instant, the pizzas are ordered, the oil change is booked, and the thing that I'm not allowed to say out loud has been purchased for my wife. Problem solved. When you need something quick, do yourself a favor. Flip through the printed yellow directory. Stop searching, start finding. Yellow, we know local.
The committee to elect Mario Ebanks for West Bay West invites all constituents and the general public to a campaign rally on Thursday, March 25th at 7 p.m. at the Club Inferno parking lot on Hell Road. There will be guest speakers on important district and national topics. Light refreshments will be provided. Come one, come all.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for all the callers. We got a bunch of them. Let's take them all. Thank you for your time. Hey, welcome. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon, Manal. You will allow me to not be disrespectful to you, but we're going to try to get to all 5 of the calls. So you're the first one in the last 5. So
Yeah, I have to say 3 quick things.
go right ahead, man. Go right ahead.
The first thing I want to tell the general public about the most civilized and nice thing happened in this election, which is, in Savannah, the meeting of Mr. Malcolm Anthony Eden was in front of the house of Miss Heather Bowden, and she allowed them to do the meeting there. And I think, that shows how much this lady is civilized and democratic, and she a very nice lady who respects democracy. And I remember the days when I volunteer with Miss Heather, and I think she done fantastic job for this community.
Right.
And I thank her for the civilized move she did. The second thing, I want to go in this issue of the talk show. Sometimes this lady Miller, she replaces you, right? And I think, Dwayne, she is very intelligent lady.
I think we agree.
I hope and wish that the morning show, OC morning show, that she replace OC, because I think we need somebody who don't have agenda. I think this lady, she don't have any agenda, and OC have agenda for the PPM, and he gathering some of his
fair enough. Third point, quickly.
Third point, that Mr. Alva Saku told me that he never joined the PPM or the Alliance. I meet him in Northside in a public meeting. And I'm surprised that he are sitting with the Alliance campaigning with them. So I want to understand what type of politician this. Today he's PPM. Tomorrow he is independent. And then he come back PPM. Is this what is suit him personal, what he doing, just to suit his winning the election or not?
Maybe that's a question for the voters. We, stick a pin there. Let's hit the next caller. Hey, good afternoon, and a gracious welcome to you. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Good afternoon, lady. How are you?
Fine, thanks to you.
Blessed.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate. I think that was Mario that was on just before we went on the break.
Yeah.
Well, I want to congratulate Mario for all of the ideas that he came up with.
Mario D. Rankin, just in case.
I want to remind Mario, in no disrespect, that he must remember that we had an old saying, you came by plane, but I came by pain. And unfortunately, the ones that come by pain is the ones that are suffering. They don't want anything. Poor Mr. Bo Miller, may his soul rest in peace. The reason why they didn't want to take Bo Miller's ideas because he came by plane. Had he came by a plane, oh God, he would have got the chariot coming down the street and the whole rigmarole. But because he came by a plane and he calls himself Kimanian. If like Mario said, if they set up the pension that Kimanians will benefit, they don't want that because the concessions that they gave away with Kimanians' money, it wasn't foreign money. Because remember, the foreigners can't vote. That not Kimanians can't vote. So they done out their taxpayers' money. And for the pension racket with that, they don't want Kimanians to ever get better because I had to leave to go to England to spend my pension money in England so that I had to go spend my money in England so that I draw my pension to give my baby to go be a doctor. Now, wasn't it better for me to stay in Cayman, don't be able to touch it till the 6 months, when the 6 months up my bed, right? No, I had to pay airfare, go pay rent over in England because I didn't have nothing over there, to wait 6 months later to be told that I got to wait for the money to come to me. I got to actually migrate to the next man's country to make their country better so that I can get money to make mine better. What a mess.
Sad.
That's what you call a mess. And no government so far has seen that that's a mess.
Yep. Well.
So poor Mario, tell him thanks for trying, but I don't know if he could have got him in, and I don't think we can get him in from what I can hear from different angles. But all he can do is just keep beating the horse because one of these days the horse can bring back one day or the other. Or he can kick him or something because he's not being too much.
There you go.
Okay,
all right.
have a nice day.
You too. Thank you too. And let's go to the other line. Welcome. Thanks for calling. Hola. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome.
Am I on?
Yes, sir. And how are you today, sir?
I'm fine, thanks.
Amen.
I heard you talking about pensions, and I haven't really checked it out that close, but I understand, regardless of the amount of contribution an individual has done toward pension, which is compulsory, up to age 60, I think it is, I understand that an individual like that, when they retire, can only draw $1,000 per month.
$1,000 a month.
Pension. Now, can you tell me what sense that makes for a person that might have $500,000 there deposited in his name? It can't go to anyone else, as far as I know, unless it's someone that's.
Well, when you die, there's a beneficiary named in it, and then that can go as part of your estate.
Able to go to a beneficiary, but
yeah.
How are you going to live off of $1,000 a month if that's all you have? If that's the only income you have?
Right.
That's why a lot of people pulled out their pension when they were allowed to do it recently and invested in something else better. I think that's really stupid, as far as I'm concerned.
But yet we have a government after government, and we seemingly didn't address it properly from what you shared, right?
Well, it needs to be addressed because if you suppose a person is making, just for round figures, $100,000 a year. That's a big chunk of money that they contribute, and 10% or at least 5%, 10%, 5% of that.
So anywhere between 6,000 to 12,000 a year.
In one year, they've almost paid as much as they can
collect
on a yearly basis.
Yes, sir.
So what? Unless they were able to diversify their proceeds that they get from their job or whatever the case may be, it's a farce about giving a person like that $1,000 a month for pension.
Yep.
Especially if it's a person with a family and everything else.
Yep.
The NAU is giving people more than that a month now, as far as I know. So that really needs to be reviewed and changed and based somehow on, I would say, on a percentage or somehow of what you contribute, not on a fixed monthly basis.
Yeah.
That is very unfair to the people, I claim.
Yes, sir. I think many would agree.
I heard you talking about land or leased land. Someone was talking about leased land a while ago. As far as I'm concerned, government should not sell anything they own. If anything, they want to do is lease it. If they want to lease it, but again, not for peppercorn either, because these people are developing leased land and making a fortune out of it, and then they're only obligated for, well, whatever the fee is that they charge, but that's peanuts compared to what the land is worth and what it's worth to a developer. Another thing, I am totally against any developer, whoever it may be, that might come to this country, to own more than a certain percentage of the country. I wouldn't doubt by now that almost half of it is going to one individual. I might be wrong, but I wouldn't doubt it's pretty close to it. And that's a dangerous situation for us to be in.
Right. Let me ask, finish your thought. I just want to ask you, we do have another caller, so we respectfully ask that caller, just hang on. But unless you have another comment, I want to ask you a question about what you just shared. You said, a developer coming from elsewhere. But what if that developer or that landowner is Caymanian? So could a Caymanian own 10%, 50% if that Caymanian has the wherewithal to acquire that much land holding? Would you be against that?
I don't know that I don't know that it should be any different for the Caymanian.
Okay.
And again, you can earn Caymanian. You can claim to be Caymanian after a couple of years anyway, depending on how you contribute to the country. So they might be able to call them Caymanian, but they're not genuine Caymanian as far as I'm concerned.
Fair enough,
so that again is a farce.
Well, it seems that our governments that we've elected over the years have, if I can infer from what you shared, failed us in that respect as well.
Also, the local company control licenses that they've been issuing for years. Maybe it was necessary some years ago to attract some investors to get things rolling here, but not nowadays. And again, I've known of people that published, because they're obligated to publish what the investment should be by local partnership.
For the LCCL?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I know for a fact people have abused that so much. Say, for instance, a person wants to open a business here and it's going to be a $2 million business. Then the Caymanian has to come up with about $500,000 or something.
60% of it, right?
Or 50%.
60%,
60%, yes. Yeah, it was 60 at least. I don't know what it is now.
Yeah, I don't either, yeah.
So, how many Caymanians are able to comply with that requirement? And then after publishing that for a few weeks, they're free to go and do what they want. The board is obligated to give them a license. And they're, like I say, free to do what they want, just like if they had been born here or had been inherited everything here, whatever. So we need to look at a lot of these anomalies, whether it's the new politicians or the next group, whatever it is. I think we really need to look at some of these things because we're overlooking a lot of situations that are very dangerous for the country. I think I'll stop at that, Mr. Ebanks.
Well, Mr. Warden, thank you, sir,
for the time.
Thank you most graciously, for taking the time out of your very busy day. I liked all the callers and sharing your thoughts.
Yeah, I was busy, but I felt it was important to throw this.
Yes, sir. In. Thank you for that too, sir.
All right.
All right. Blessings to you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Let's take one final call. Hey, welcome. Thanks for your patience for holding on, and you'll be our final caller.
Good day, Dwayne.
What's happening, man?
I'm Good. This is Richard Bernard, candidate for Georgetown East.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to say on Sunday we had a very phenomenal church service. All of the 50 candidates were invited to that service. However, only 30 showed up.
Over at Emsley.
At Emsley.
Yes, sir.
It was a fantastic service.
It was.
There was a break in the service for all of the candidates to meet and greet each other, whether they were on speaking terms, but it was phenomenal. Anyhow, because of the essence of time, I just want to jump right in and say, yes, I was listening intently to Mario's contribution. Yes, he has a lot of good ideas, but like many Caymanians who has lots of good ideas, they are not listened to. I was privileged in 2013 to be on the political campaign of Bo Miller. And we put forward many great ideas that would have put this country on a much better footing than it is right now, but were ignored. However, be that as it may, can't do anything about that now besides trying to correct some of the wrongs that were done. Prior to the 2017 election, we had what they were advocating as not to be in proper keeping, where you were voting for more than one person. So the introduction of the one man, one vote was introduced. And it was our contention that that would have only brought further division, not necessarily parties, but individuals, households, and so on. And it has just produced, just that. But I think when the one man, one vote was introduced, some of the things that should have been done back then was, if you're moving from a multiple voting system to a one man, one vote, in my humble opinion, like many others which I've talked to, the representative who is running for that area should be someone who is living in that area. In addition, according to the Constitution, district advisory councils should have been set up. That was only done by one member of the House, which was the member from North Side, Edward Miller. The other 18, and some of those are my friends, but I have to call them out. They didn't do it. So they are in breach of the Constitution, and even part of the PPM administration that orchestrated the one man, one vote and the district advisory councils. They did not adhere to the very Constitution that they brought. Going on, we have so many problems in this country, but it can be fixed. They can be fixed by having dialogue and finding solutions.
The will to fix it, huh?
Yeah, it can be fixed.
Yes, sir.
Right? Let's go into banking. Banking was my first job when I graduated from school in 1973. Thanks again to Mr. Leonard Ebanks, who was the assistant manager of Royal Bank of Canada. They had Mr. Ron Stoley, which was from Canada. But I think it was something like 11 of us that that was our first job, 1973. And I've been in the financial services ever since. I'm an accountant by profession. So I've seen a lot of things happen in this country, some right and some very wrong. This is one thing that I need to say. We, at one point, was the banking capital of the world. We had over 500 banks in Cayman back in the 90s. We were the 5th largest financial center. Some people, I still hear them talking about that. That is not the case now. We are no longer the 5th largest financial center of the world. So people need to get their facts straight. That is not so. We have slipped way down. And as a matter of fact, if you go and check, we have less than 100 banks here. And we have two different types of banks. We have Class A, which are commercial banks, Class B, which are offshore banks. and we have more offshore banks doing offshore business and tax work than we have other banks here.
Right.
I don't know how much time I have left.
No, that's it, man.
Well, Sterling, what I will do, I will get in touch with your
Yes, sir.
and actually, there's lots more that I could say, and lots of ideas. And
Yes,
also
sir. All right. I appreciate it, man. And good dialogue, good discourse means good discussion. Hey, thank you for that, Mr. Bernard.
And you have a good day as well, and thanks for your time.
You too, sir. You're most welcome. God bless. And I appreciate each and every one of you. And I will appreciate that we live in a healthy democracy, that we can, meet and greet, we can discuss, and we can dialogue, we can disagree. The major important thing is we're respectful and we are civil. We're reminded in the scriptures, where it talks about, says a prophet is not without honor, save in his own country, his own hometown. And a part that we always seem to forget, and among his relatives and in his own household. Now you imagine that, right? Everybody alluded to it today that we'll take the man from the plane and anoint him and appoint him and elevate him and give him a statue and all sorts of accolades. But our very own that we played marbles with, that we probably fell at the mango tree together, ran seas and the like, we don't seemingly look at them with the same level of respect and value for their time, talent, and their treasure. I say this very carefully. Those who come and live and work amongst us, we invite them, we welcome them, we help them to acclimate, we show them love and respect. Remember what we shared earlier? Be careful when you entertain strangers, because angels may dwell among them. We need to continue to be hospitable, welcoming, inviting, loving people. But it doesn't mean that you let people, walk all over you. But sometimes if we don't ensure that people understand the rules, the norms, the protocols, the process, the procedure, then maybe they have to feel the way around. And it's only one time when it's good to feel the way around. Maybe that's when you're looking for skill pots. Maybe it's when you're looking for something else. End of the day, make this a safe, healthy, happy, productive, prosperous place, both measured in our finances, but in our families, measured by our civility as well as our sanctity, and measured equally by our contributions to the lives and betterment of each and everyone, and less by what we take, but more by what we give. I invite you to have a very safe and productive and wonderfully blessed and entertaining and involved and engaging evening. Whether it's exercise, or whether it's conversation, whether it's just love, or it's just laughter. Make it be blessed. Until tomorrow, my friends, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands.